We have an amazing episode for you today, but first I want to tell you about Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. Whether it's recording new podcast episodes, uploading existing episodes, editing, or more, Anchor gives you everything you need in one place to create your podcast from your computer or your phone and make it sound amazing. And the best part, it's free. Yes, Anchor is completely free. Anchor makes it easy to make money with a podcast without a minimum listenership, and will even distribute your podcast so it can be heard anywhere from Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and more. The podcast process has been so easy because of Anchor, and I couldn't have asked for a better experience right off the bat. I'm recommending Anchor to all of my listeners who are wanting to start a podcast. Be sure to download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started building your own podcast today. You're listening to As Told Unfiltered, the podcast about building your business, staying productive while working from home, and managing your mental health on top of it all. I'm your host, Kristen Kubik. I'm a branding specialist who thrives on helping others build their handmade business and overcome the mindset blocks that come with it all. Today's episode is about my most important tips for starting an Etsy shop. Etsy is one of the most popular platforms for handmade sellers, if not the most popular. It also has a reputation for vintage goods as well as crafting supplies. Etsy got its start in 2005, and as of 2018, had 39.5 million buyers who had purchased through the site. Celebrities and more have even purchased through the site. It's continues to grow as no wonder people are looking to Etsy to start a side hustle, generate some passive income, or even create a full-time handmade business. 2019 has been labeled Year of the Side Hustle, but most importantly, people have built thriving full-time businesses on Etsy. I've personally built multiple businesses of my own on Etsy. I have 2 shops on Etsy right now, both that I use for passive income alone. I've also helped others build their businesses on Etsy, whether it was starting from the ground up or doing Etsy shop audits for existing owners to help them with an outsider's point of view from their ideal customer. I'll be sure to link that for my listeners in today's notes. Who wouldn't want to get in on that, though? Etsy's a fantastic platform, and it has so much room to grow. I think the stats are on track at this point to easily break 40 million shoppers this year. But what if you're not sure where to start? That's where these tips and tricks come in. And today I've got 7 tips for you for creating an Etsy shop. And I even have a link for 40 free listings that you can have access to when starting your shop that I'll also link in the show notes. Let's get started. Number 1 in my tips for starting an Etsy shop is branding. I'm a branding specialist, obviously, so I'll at least do one more episode on branding by itself. It's the most important part of your business. It's the first thing people see. It's like going on a first date. People are going to judge you by what you're wearing. It's kind of like that commercial where the chick says to the guy that he looks amazingly comfortable. That's not what people want. Did you know that it takes an average of 3 seconds for people to decide whether they're going to stay on your page or not? It's actually the same amount of time that a potential employer takes when looking at a resume. So your branding needs to be cohesive. You don't want it to be busy or over the top, but you still want it to be eye-catching. The name needs to be unique and stand out, especially if you're entering into a saturated market. Number 2, product photography. Product photography is one of the hardest aspects about a business, in my opinion. There's so much to learn, and I'll admit, I'm still learning new things every single day. Some of my greatest mentors are photographers, and I absolutely love learning from their photos or just by reading their blogs. Etsy promotes using white or plain style backgrounds to maximize your product visibility. Some people use backgrounds with a little bit of texture, like fur or distressed wood, and that's perfectly okay. But you want to keep the backgrounds light instead of dark, just to keep them eye-catching and draw in your customers. You also don't want anything distracting in the photo with your product. For instance, if you're selling a piece of jewelry, you don't need rocks, chairs, a whole wreath, or anything else in the photo that's going to distract the eye from the product itself. Center your focus on your one item. For clothes, I always say to utilize a flat lay. If you don't know what a flat lay is, it's simply laying the product flat and taking a photo from above. I also say to try to steer from using models in your first photo, whether it's a person wearing the item or your hand holding the product. Your very first photo should be of just the product itself, not of the potential model taking away from the product you're trying to sell. Another reason I say not to use models in your first photo is because I've watched a lot of potential customers from market research say that they will not buy a product from a person if they're modeling it. Why? Because they have a fear of it not being clean. And yes, that's a real thing, and it's something that business owners have to think about. Another extremely important aspect when it comes to photos is lighting, and I mean extremely important. Say it with me. Natural light is your best friend. But just in case you can't get natural light to work for you, a couple of other hints are light boxes and ring lights. I'll even throw some links in the show notes for my listeners. You can get these relatively inexpensive, and they're lifesavers. We have multiples of each in our house for all of our photos, and they're both amazing options. Number 3. Utilize SEO in titles and tags. If you don't know what SEO is, it's search engine optimization. I'll talk more about this in a later episode, but I wanted to touch on it now because as a business owner, you should be making yourself very familiar with SEO. This is essentially how you're going to be found by your customers. It puts the product up against the search engine based on what people are searching Etsy for. You want to be sure you're utilizing your SEO as much as possible, especially in your titles and tags. Etsy allows 13 tags for each product, and you need to use them all as best as possible. But this doesn't just mean using one-word tags for each portion of your product. If you're selling a custom stainless steel tumbler, you don't just want to make your tags custom, tumbler, 20 ounce, cup, glitter. Instead, you want to utilize multiple word options like glitter tumblers, custom drinkware, and things like that. A website that's been a huge help to me and other Etsy sellers is called eRank. It figures out the best way to help utilize tags in sections of listings and even more. I'll link it in the show notes, but you can find it at erank.com. It's free to sign up, but they also have a premium plan that offers help in even more areas that push you and your Etsy shop even further. Product description, number 4. Be sure you're providing an extremely detailed product description. This one is one of the biggest reasons that people will actually buy your product. From the material used, to the size of the product, to the care instructions, to even other potential uses. You have a lengthy list of characters you're allowed to use in the description, and you should be using almost all of them. It's even a great opportunity to link another product that might go well with that specific item, so you can potentially generate an even larger sale. Number 5, use your shop announcement. Your shop announcement is there for a reason, yet I see so many shop owners fail to use it. Your shop announcement is a fantastic place for a cute welcome message, announcing a sale or any change in turnaround time, to reiterate your policies that should also be listed in your policy section, to reiterate care instructions that should also be in your descriptions, and so much more. It's scary to me how many Etsy shop owners aren't using their shop announcement section because it could be so eye-catching. Remember those 3 seconds I told you that people spend on a page before deciding if they want to leave or keep scrolling? This is one of those places where you can draw their eye and have them stay even longer. Number 6, think like a brick and mortar. Okay, hear me out. I know this seems a little outdated. We use online shopping so we don't have to go into stores most of the time. And people are starting to support handmade businesses more and more, that most are online. But to stand out against the crowd, you have to think much bigger than you are. Storefronts are organized by sections, so you use your shop sections when you make a listing. It helps keep your shop organized, and people aren't having to scroll through products that they're not interested in to find something that they potentially want. Also, be sure to offer products that are similar to each other. And I wouldn't say this if I hadn't seen it myself. Walking into a store to find baby clothes and then car parts might be a little awkward to you, so why would you ever do that in your store? Number 7, use social media to promote. This is another topic I'm going to cover in at least one later episode, but I felt it was necessary to touch on now because social media is of the utmost importance nowadays. There are places to input your social media on your Etsy profile, and there are buttons on the listings to help you promote to Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. Have a link to your shop on every single piece of social media you have. Learn Instagram. Learn how to utilize hashtags to your advantage, how to drive traffic to your shop through Instagram. Learn Pinterest. Create eye-catching pins to draw attention and link them back to your shop. You can create multiple pins to drive traffic to one listing, on top of being able to share direct from your listing. Canva is becoming more and more popular to create social media graphics with. You can create Pinterest pins, Instagram posts, Facebook graphics, and so much more. And the best part is that it's free. Living in the age of social media, you're almost insane not to utilize all these tools to your advantage. And there you have it, your top 7 tips for starting an Etsy shop, as told unfiltered. Branding, product photography, SEO, product description, using your shop announcement, thinking like a brick and mortar, and using social media. Be sure to check out the show notes at cubicdesigns.com/blog and let me know in the comments what you thought of these tips and if you have other tips that you would have included. I'll also be sure to include my link for the 40 free listings that you can use if you're just opening your shop. Thanks for listening, guys. Be sure to subscribe so you can hear new episodes as soon as they drop.